Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Over-Under on 1252 Sports out of Chicago. I'm Harry the Greek. I'm your host this evening. We're going to get down to the nitty-gritty tonight and talk about all the games in the National Football League in Week 7. Tonight's special guest is going to be Peter Blake from the Sports Web. Very interesting character, great knowledge of every team in the National Football League, but something even a little bit more special. He knows this Tampa Bay Buccaneer team, which your Chicago Bears are going to be facing this weekend down at Raymond James Stadiums in beautiful Tampa, Florida. You have a question or a comment, make sure you go ahead and post one. We're going to go ahead and read it live on the air. And if you have a question or a comment you want to ask Peter or Harry the Greek, all you have to do is give us a call. Let me put this up on the banner. It's right here at the bottom. It's 727-320-5866. That's 727-320-5866. I'm Harry the Greek. I'm your host. I'm not going to waste much time. I'm going to bring him in. Everybody around in these parts in Florida know who he is, and we're going to make sure we know who he is up here in the Chicago area. Welcome, Peter Blake. How are you, my brother?
Doing great, buddy. Getting ready for this game tonight, which is our game on Sunday. Game tonight. I wish it was tonight. Tampa Bay versus the Chicago Bears. You got to love it.
It's definitely going to be an interesting game, but I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to get to that game probably last because I want everybody to really know what's going on with it. But I'm going to tell you this. Tampa is a 12-point, and in some books, they're a 13.5-point favorite in this game. Peter, that's a lot of points, man.
That is a lot of points, especially with the announcements today of no Gronkowski, no Antonio Brown, no Levante David. They cut Jaden Mickens this week, so they have Jalen Darden, who's a rookie.
Hey,
so still
good kid there.
Yes, a lot of question marks, though, Harry the Greek, with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But make no mistake about it, this offense can definitely score some points. The big-time question, of course, is their defense, namely their back end. Richard Sherman out, Carlton Davis out, Sean Murphy-Bunting out. So they definitely got some big-time question marks in that secondary.
Without question, Peter. You know, and Chicago's banged up on the offensive side of the ball as well. You have no David Montgomery, probably not going to be back till week 10. Then their backup running back with Damian Williams, who should, by the way, you and I've talked about it before, should have had the MVP in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, who elected to stay out because of COVID-19 last year, ironically is on COVID-19 protocol, not vaccinated, and has COVID-19. It's going to be very difficult for him to get back on the field anytime soon. Wish him the best of luck. And probably the most significant person that might not be playing is on defense, the rejuvenated Robert Quinn with 5.5 sacks. But there is a small chance that he does play. They're saying he has to test negative, I think, twice in 24 hours, and that's all they're waiting for. So they're going to probably wait to the last minute. And he might be one of those guys that doesn't travel with the team that, like, he, catches a flight, say it, 10 o'clock in the morning, flies directly down to Tampa. Because from what I understand, Southwest, it's pretty cheap. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes, bud. Up, down, and you're here.
Yeah, exactly. And 5.5 sacks, you're going to definitely need him on this defensive line. And he gave the Bucs offensive line everything they could handle. As a Bucs fan out there, there's a lot of them that watched the game last year where the Bears surprised the Bucs 20-19. And that was kind of the turning point at that point, Harry, because the turnover situation, maybe more than anything else, not the turnover situation, the penalty situation was out of control, especially on that offensive line. Robert Quinn, Khalil Mack gave the Bucs offensive line everything they could handle, including Tristan Wirfs, who gave up 1 sack last year. Guess who it was to?
Return of the Mac.
That's it.
He owned. I mean, that was a Michael Jordan in your face over John Stark's poster dunk. The way he lifted Wirfs up with the one arm and slammed him. Bro, that was unbelievable. But let me tell you something. That never happened again to Tristan Wirfs the entire year. One of the best right tackles. You know what? If they would have gave a Rookie of the Year award, in my opinion, it should have went to that young man last year. What a stud that Tristan Wirfs ended up being for Tampa.
What a stud. But, him coming out of the draft, there's a lot of people who said, you know what? Andrew Thomas was better. This player was better. And yet, to me, Tristan Wirfs was the best offensive tackle at that time. And some Bucs fans complain about it, trading up one pick. You would trade up one pick every day of the week if you had the opportunity every year, because of the kind of production this kid put out last year. And he's just continued to get better and better and better. And think about this. This was during the pandemic year where you had no training camp. You basically had no mini camp. You had no preseason. And he got it done at a top 10, top 5 level. You're exactly right. He should have been the offensive rookie of the year with the protection that he provided and some of the matchups that he had last year. Very tough. And of course, the onus is on protect Tom Brady, 43, now 44 years old at the time. That's a big time question mark coming into Sunday's game against this vaunted against this vaunted Bears defense,
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that Tampa Bay defense either. But you know what, Peter? We are going to save that for a little later on. We're going to get to a couple of the comments. The first one is a Facebook user, and it says, Harold. There's only one person in this world, Peter, that calls me Harold. Mr. Tom Banner, I'm going to assume it's you. How you doing, brother? Thanks for tuning in and watching. Pig Dog, video 2001. Harry, I was rewatching the Bucs Super Bowl win in 2003. How much do you think Barrett Robbins going AWOL factored into the Bucs blowing out the Raiders? Also, which Bucs Super Bowl impressed you more? I'm going to let Peter answer the first part of that question, and I'll answer the second part of that question when it comes to which one impressed me more. Peter?
Well, I mean, look, did it affect the Raider team? Absolutely. I mean, Barrett Robbins is your center. He knows all the calls. Of course, the center to quarterback exchange is very important. But at the end of the day, there was nothing that could stop that Tampa Bay defense. In fact, they're very underrated. But if you compare them, the only thing they don't have compared to those big-time defenses like the Steel Curtain is championships. That's because of their inability on offense to score points. But there was nothing that was going to stop that defense, especially Warren Sapp in the middle. With all that being said, what was the most impressive Super Bowl? As much as I love that first one, I feel like the second one is more impressive, and I'll tell you why. Here, you get a quarterback that supposedly is washed up. Here, you do it during a pandemic where you don't have a preseason, where you don't have training camp, where you have some injuries, where you have new players like a Gronkowski and an Antonio Brown. And then the quarterbacks that they disposed of in that postseason, namely a Drew Brees, of course, an Aaron Rodgers and a Patrick Mahomes, the way that defense played in the postseason, I thought the Bucs 2020 Super Bowl year was more impressive than the 2002 year. And it pains me to say that because it was so long for the Bucs to win their first. But to me, last year was more impressive than the first one. Just my opinion.
Just in case everybody wants to know what the question there is, I'm going to leave it up when I tell you which one it was. I'm not going to give you that much of a concise answer with Barrett Robbins going AWOL, but I will tell you this. Both of these defenses were absolutely extraordinary. The 02 team and the 2020 team defensively was really good. Look, I'm on a Chicago platform talking about Tampa Bay Buccaneer defense. I am not comparing this defense to the 1985 Chicago Bears. Let's get that first and foremost and straight. But let me tell you something. This 2020 team, when those playoffs hit, that was about the closest damn thing I've ever seen to something like that. Anybody that watched that Super Bowl, when you have a Patrick Mahomes running backwards more yards than he was throwing the football.
497 yards backwards. Yep. For Patrick Mahomes. Yep. And look, the blueprint has been laid. The foundation has been laid for the rest of the NFL. This is what they've done. They've taken that blueprint from that Bucs defense and what they did in Super Bowl 55, and they've applied it this year. Look at what the Buffalo Bills did to them. Did that look familiar? Oh, it was. It was the Bucs game plan. Just my opinion.
It sure was. But that was a great question. Thank you so much, Pig Dog. We appreciate it. Another Facebook user. By the way, if you're going to log on through Facebook, I don't have an issue with it at all. But there is something you need to do. Go ahead and back out, look at it, and right in the heading, it says, I'm going live using StreamYard. Click on that link where it says StreamYard. And at the bottom, hit it where it says allow to see the access. That way I can read your name on the air as well. I mean, you don't have to do that. Or you can go to 1252 Sports on YouTube, and it just automatically comes up anyway. Brady's going to forget what down. It is Sunday afternoon.
You hope not. I mean, because that was the big time story, right? And a lot of people were trying to deny it at the time. BA was trying to deny it. Brady was trying to deny it, but in the offseason, we found out that that was true. And that's how great that Bears defense can be when they get pressure in the quarterback's face, especially with that interior. I got a bone to pick with you, though, Harry.
Uh-oh.
That 2002 Bucs defense was pretty damn good and right up there.
Oh, stop it.
1985 Bears with the personalities.
Listen, I'll give double nickels. I'll give double nickels and John Lynch all the credit. Warren Sapp, one of the best defensive tackles ever to play in the game.
Simeon Rice out of Illinois. I mean, come on, you got to give that kid some love. I mean,
bro, Simeon Rice was the man. He was balling, bro. Yes. Okay, he was a baller.
Yes,
without question. I'm going to tell you right now, and that's the other part of the question I was going to answer. That 2020 defense was about as close as I've ever seen getting to that 85 team. But in 2002, I'm sorry, Tampa fans, but that was a better defensive unit all around from the start of the season to the end of the season.
Yes.
You know, I mean, Tampa got hot at the right part of the year. I think they won their last 8 games to get in. They really started playing really good football in the final 5. They could have lost that Washington game very easy in the wild card round, and then they mowed right through the New Orleans Saints. And I'll tell you what, they absolutely crushed Green Bay, and the rest is history. But you know what? We're not going to talk too much about that because, like I said, we're going to get down to the nitty gritty and start talking some games.
Well,
we want to talk. Go ahead.
One final thing here, Harry.
Go for it.
About that 2002 Bucs versus Raiders, a lot of people say, well, you know, they had an advantage because John Gruden knew the audibles and the play calls. Hey, it's not the Bucs' fault that Bill Callahan couldn't change the calls, but that defense was prepared. That offense was prepared. It was an interesting season because before it started, of course, you know, Tony Dungy gets fired. John Gruden becomes the coach. They trade 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks. And just recently down here, he gets removed from the Ring of Honor. Now you can have it back.
Oh, you had to go there. You know what? I am going to go there just for a second.
Go there.
I'm kind of curious outside of the Tampa market, especially where you're at, Peter. I would like to know what the Midwest has to think about what John Gruden, forget about what he said, what happened in emails or whatever. Do you agree that he should have been removed from the Ring of Honor in Tampa Bay? I have my own opinion. I am not going to share it. My opinion has nothing to do with the views of myself and or 1252 Sports, but I'm kind of curious of what you, the viewer, has to say about it. Go ahead and post a comment. We'll go ahead and read it live on the air. But again, you know, Peter, that's great. I mean, I'm glad you brought that up because someone needed to make some awareness of it. You know, what I'd like to do is start talking about some of the games that I'm not really going to have that much of a position in. Okay. But I kind of like a little bit of input. The first game is Carolina Panthers are going to be at the New York Giants this week. And the Panthers are -3. They're favored by a field goal. Their over and under is 42.5. And I'll be the first one to tell you, Peter, I was on the Giants bandwagon this year before the season started. This team is a dumpster fire. I thought Joe Judge had this defense playing so hard, never giving up. Saquon Barkley is going to come back from the knee injury. He's going to look great. Danny Dimes is going to be the quarterback they all envisioned. They got the wide receiver from Detroit. They have a couple of other wide receivers. They got good tight end. This is a solid football team. Why can't they put it together, and why can't I bet this game?
Because they can't stay out of the tub. That's why. I mean, Galladay is from Detroit, but he's an off-injured wide receiver. The reason why a lot of teams weren't willing to give him the money that he wanted out there is because he couldn't stay healthy and hasn't been able to stay healthy this year. Saquon Barkley, same thing. Coming off a major injury, now injured. Daniel Jones, injured. Wide receivers, injured. This team has been disappointing, and it's really troubling because, like you said, offensively and defensively, they're very talented, but at the end of the day, you can't make it out of the tub, and that's what has plagued the Giants this year. You go on the other side, I told you Sam Darnold was a fraud, and he has shown he is a fraud. That offense comes and goes with Christian McCaffrey, and right now, going south without Christian McCaffrey. Sam Darnold last week, 3 interceptions, not going to get it done, turning over the ball. You know, all these people, oh, he's been revitalized. Yes, they have a talented defense. I get that. But offensively, if you're turning over the ball, take it from me. I know this all too well with the Jameis Winston experiment, 30 for 30. Yes, that will be a special one of these days on ESPN. Book it.
We're going to watch 30 for 30 on the 30 for 30.
30 for 30. Sam Darnold right now is making some terrible decisions, and that defense, just take it from me, if that defense is on the field and that offense is not scoring consistently, eventually you're going to score on that defense. But with all that being said, with all the injuries to the New York Giants, I like the Carolina Panthers in this game.
Wow. I can't touch the game. I'm going to go to Texas, and you know what that means, right?
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? El Paso. That means we're just going to pass the game. The next game is going to be really surprising. Kansas City at the Tennessee Titans. Kansas City is a 4.5-point favorite, and the over-under in this game, Pete, is 57.5. I can't bet this game. I don't, and I'm going to tell you why. First off, what has Kansas City done this year to warrant themselves to be a 4.5-point favorite over anybody?
No idea.
Okay,
honestly,
number one.
Their defense is atrocious.
The defense is horrible. Now, which Tennessee team we're going to get? The one where the running game goes for 200 yards and he throws for $150? The one where the defense can't stop anybody? I don't know. It seems like an awful lot of points. I don't even need an opinion in this game. If you plan on playing this game, people that are out there, if you like one side or another, you are a sick individual, because I couldn't possibly come up with a line here. And I've watched both of these games.
Right.
Okay. Not once, but twice. And I can't come up with an educated guess. You can't even get me to go into a corner and say, who do you like? I can't do it.
Is it in Tennessee?
Yeah, it's in Tennessee.
I mean, it could be an offensive explosion because, like you said, the defenses of both teams are very inconsistent, especially Kansas City. And a lot of people say, you know what, the problems have been fixed. But I think it comes down to, you know, your schedule and who the teams you played. You look at their wins against Philadelphia, against the Washington football team. They're nothing to write home about. Patrick Mahomes, once again, with a bad turnover, trying to do too much. You get some running game there, but that defense can't really stop anybody. And right now, there's not many defenses that can stop a Derrick Henry in that Tennessee Titans offense. I tell you what, I like the Tennessee Titans in this game, as crazy as it sounds. With Kansas City being 3-3, I think they got their eyes on at this point. 3-4, because right now it's going to be very tough. That defense is going to have to play nearly a perfect game. I don't see it. I think Derrick Henry runs for over 150 yards versus that Kansas City defense. I like the Titans.
I got Derrick Henry running for 200 yards in this game, number one.
Yeah.
Okay. And I still can't make a decision on who I want. I just don't know if Tennessee's going to be able to keep up defensively. I just don't know. I'm going to move on to the next game.
All right.
But before I do that, we're going to go back to another comment. Pig Dog Video 2001. Any good college plays this week, Harry? Purdue is +3 against Wisconsin. Think they'll pull off another upset? Listen, I don't play too much on the college games, but I can tell you this. I stay away from any Tiny 10 game. I understand Chicago's part of the Big Ten here, but I say that for a reason. Here's some good things to look at. Look for any SEC team that's playing an out-of-conference team and just bet them. Just really simple. I mean, literally. Okay, look at the history. Look at the past 3 or 4 years. Hell, look at the past 10 years. The SEC has dominated the entire conference, all the conferences in football, literally. But answer your question without being so, kind of aloof about it. Purdue's playing some pretty decent ball. Wisconsin, they have no quarterback play whatsoever. They have a decent running game, and they can play defense extremely well. Purdue's been able to put up some points. I don't like Purdue only at getting 3. If they were getting 4.5 or 5, I'd probably say pull the trigger. Otherwise, I'd go to Texas. And Peter, what does Texas mean?
El Paso. Pass on it.
Pass on the game. Pig Dog, he answered a question. By the way, thanks so much for the comments. Yes, you can't have people sitting in a stadium seeing his name on the ribbon boards. What he did was obviously nowhere as bad as Paterno, but like Paterno, you have to expunge reminders of them. Peter?
Yeah, I mean, look, you can't tell your boss to you know what, and you also can't insult the commissioner of the National Football League and get away with it. Not only that, homophobic. It's just a lot of just unfortunate comments, very stupid on his part. He's a head coach in the National Football League. You have to carry yourself a certain way, and if you don't, you have to pay the piper. And in this case, the piper is Roger Goodell and the NFL Shield. And once that money is being taken away and you make those type of comments, you know, as well as I do, the PR is a nightmare for the National Football League. So you had to do something. And whether it was about the Washington football team, Bruce Allen and Daniel Snyder, who I believe Snyder should basically be fired at this point for some of the things he's done. But because
how do you fire an owner, Peter?
Well,
no, really. How do you fire an owner? Yeah. I want to know that.
You relinquish. You tell him to give up control to the other owners or the minority owners, the people that have the stake in that ownership, because this organization, the Washington football team, is a complete disaster. And what people kind of gloss over is the fact that Bruce Allen of this organization was sending nude photos to John Gruden of the cheerleaders. Nobody's talking about that, and yet I get it. Gruden is the one that resigned, or, by the way, was asked to leave by Roger Goodell. And, of course, Goodell put pressure on Mark Davis to do that. So, basically, he was fired, but he resigned, and he still owed a lot of money. But at the end of the day, they will not relieve Daniel Snyder because he works for the owners. The owners like him. Roger Goodell likes him. He makes lots of money, and that's the problem, the hypocrisy of the National Football League. They have been like this for the last 5 to 10 years, and they have to stop doing it. Same thing with Deshaun Watson. They're letting, this all work out. They have said nothing about it, and still people think, you know what, Watson is going to get traded to the Miami Dolphins. It's preposterous. 22 allegations. If you are about women's rights and domestic abuse and all these things that you talk about on a daily basis, do something, take a stand, not allow him to be on the field at that point, suspend him with pay until it works out, but do something, say something instead of being hypocritical.
We have a comment from Roger Shoe. Peter, that's the dumbest thing you've ever said. Roger Shoe says, fire an owner? You're nuts.
Well, I tell you right now, with some of the allegations and some of the things that have come out of that organization, he should be fired. But of course, you can't fire an owner. You have to relieve them, but of course they won't. Why? Because it's about the bottom line.
It's about this, bro. Here, that's all it is.
That's
just
it.
Like just like, when we were talking about gambling on some other platforms, when we were talking about it, even from last year, I says, don't worry, it's coming. It's coming to a store near you.
Right.
In the next 4 to 5 years, you will have a pari-mutuel facility and or a sports book in every single sports venue in this country. Don't worry. Why do you think Chicago wants to go to Arlington? Because it's convenient to get in and out of? No.
Right.
Are you kidding me?
Right.
It's the millions of dollars that the owners and the management, and it's going to filter down the sum of the players that they stand to make revenues from. Yeah. Okay. And you know what? I'm an advocate for gambling, and I'm going to go full screen when I explain this. I'm an advocate for gambling. I've been a professional handicapper for way over 30 years, whether it's pari-mutuels or sports. And I don't agree with this. I do not agree with sports betting at the venue where they actually play. Why do I say that? I don't know. What happened 3-4 years ago in the NBA? Anybody remember what happened with the referees? Should I bring up particular baseball players that I've known personally now for well over 30 years that is never going to get into the Hall of Fame? Should I bring up other people that have been accused of gambling in Chicago that it never got brought up because it might tarnish a particular brand? Why make it easier? What stops a player coming off the field, looking up in the stands in section 103, seat 4, and he's just touching his helmet and his shirt like he's giving signs from a baseball game, and that means, hey, they ain't going to score on this drive. Go bet me 50 dimes on it. What stops people from the corruption of this happening? And another thing is, Roger Goodell, he's the hypocrite of hypocrites, Peter.
Of course he is.
He's the hypocrite of hypocrites. You remember back in 2002 when the Buccaneers were in the Super Bowl and Las Vegas wanted to go ahead and put an advertisement on TV, and they went, oh, no, gambling is the devil. You remember that, Peter?
Of course.
Then in 2017, what happened? Well, it still doesn't have a place for it, but, we're going to look at it. In 2019, when they started doing everything with the collective bargaining agreement and they were all negotiating a whole bunch of things, and they're like, wait a minute, hold on. There's a spot in the National Football League for gambling. Why? Because of this. It's the only reason why. Nothing else, nothing more. And it's a shame. It really is. Is it going to be convenient? I don't know. And other people, they make the claim, Peter, they're saying, well, it's too easy. You could just use one of these and go ahead and make a bet. But wait a minute. Players aren't allowed to have one of these in the dugout. Players are not allowed to have one of these on the sidelines. There's too many cameras staring at them. But when you have a sports book in the stadium, there's going to be corruption. I'm not going to go off on too much of a tangent. We're going to go to the next game. New York Jets at the New England Patriots. The Patriots are a 6.5-point favorite, 42.5. New York, let me tell you something. They look good one game, look horrible the next. New England, a lot of money they spent in the offseason. Kind of reminded me what the Snyders did back in Washington when they spent all that money and didn't get anything out of it. I don't know. I'm going to Texas. Peter, what does it mean?
El Paso, pass on the game. But I'll tell you right now, I like the New England Patriots in it, but you're passing on the game. I like the Patriots coming off that loss to the Dallas Cowboys there on OT. The Jets are lifeless to me. I'm sorry. I just don't see it. I don't.
Detroit Lions at the Los Angeles Rams. The return of Jared Goff going back to L.A. and Matthew Stafford saying hello to his team. The Rams are a 16, let me repeat it, a 16.5-point favorite. What?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they could be a 30-point favorite.
Why not?
I'm just going to watch it just to see how Goff plays and how Matthew Stafford, if they're going to cheer him. But there's no way that I could play this game. Peter, I'm going to Texas. What does that mean?
That means El Paso pass on the game.
Absolutely. Do you like the Rams to win by more than 16, or do you think it's ballsy to do that?
I mean, the Lions, they play tough this year, right? I mean,
yes,
they have to up on Dan Campbell, but I like the Rams in this game. Too much talent. Of course, Matt Stafford, he's going to be motivated. And then on top of it, it's kind of like the Brady effect, right? I mean, you get a veteran quarterback in a Stafford. The players know how much he wants it, so they want to win it just as much as he does for him. I like the Rams big in this game over the Lions just because of that fact. They're focused on it. And look, they're going to downplay it. They're going to downplay it just like
of course they are.
The Bucs downplayed it. But what you heard out of those press conferences from those various players is they wanted to win it for Brady. I think the same could be said with this Rams team. These players want to win it for Stafford, and they will on Sunday.
You see, I think that these players want to win it for Goff because they has been made a mockery of. Matthew Stafford is considered to be way up here, and Jared Goff is like kind of way down here. Honestly, that's my honest opinion. I can't touch the game. I'm going to Texas, which means
passing on the game.
You got it. Philadelphia at the Vegas Raiders without John Gruden. The Raiders are only -3, but the total is 48.5. Philadelphia's got a nice little offense going, and that defense has been playing a lot better. Vegas is still banged up at the running game. They're missing their starting left tackle, if I'm not mistaken, and one of the wide receivers are a little bit banged up defensively. They're hurting a smidge as well. I can't bet the game, but this is actually one game that if you backed me into a corner, I'd actually say take Vegas at home and lay the 3 points here. I kind of like it, but not enough to bet it. Peter, what do you like?
No, I like the Raiders in this game, and I'll tell you why. What they did last week with Rich Bisaccia, of course, former Tampa Bay Buccaneers special teams coordinator, who has been passed on immensely by other NFL teams. He should have been a head coach a long time ago, and you could see what he did last week with the Raiders with all that disruption, with all those distractions to come out and blow the Broncos out. I like the Raiders in this team, and I tell you right now, the Bucs had more penalty yards than the Eagles had offensive yards. That's offensive in itself. Jalen Hurts, to me, is a one-read quarterback, which basically means he sees one read and he takes off. That's not going to work versus that Raiders defense. They're going to get after him. Max Crosby, they have plenty of weapons on that defensive line. They can do it. I like the Raiders in this, and I believe in them.
Yeah, I kind of do as well, but not enough to bet them. And now, the insignificant game of the week.
Bro,
the Houston Texans at Arizona. Arizona's minus, you ready?
Yeah.
Drum roll.
Okay, I'll give you the insignificant sound.
Okay. 18.5-point underdogs on the road at Arizona. Totals 47.5. Now, I made a lot of money in gambling this year in the past couple of years because I do take a lot of underdogs. Because whenever you get to be more than a 10-point favorite, and remember that I said this for later on in the show, teams have a tendency of laying down and not playing up to their abilities. Houston, on the other hand, when Tyrod Taylor, let me repeat it, when Tyrod Taylor was playing, they were playing inspired football. Lovie Smith has had this defense playing very well in the first half and sometimes through three quarters in games. And sometimes in the fourth quarter just kind of gets away from them because of the lack of offense. Davis Mills, the quarterback from Stanford, the one that I really like coming out of the draft this year, just a game or two ago had 3 touchdown passes, 300 plus yards passed, and looked like a quarterback that I thought he was going to develop into. But man, this is Arizona. They're going to be at home. You got J.J. Watt, who's going to be going up against his old team. But I'm going to tell you one thing. Houston's going to come in there and play inspired football. I'm going to give a small play here. You take Houston plus 12 in the first half to play this game. Because if Houston's going to make a game of it, it's going to be in the first half. Arizona's going to get caught. Going to get caught by surprise a little bit here in the first half. This is a game you make a very small position. You do not take the 18 points for the game. This is a game you play the first half. You're going to get almost 12 points in some books and play the over in the first half. So I like Houston very small in the first half and over. I love the underdog in this game, only in the first half. Peter?
Yeah, I tend to agree with you on that because, look, you may overlook them. They're not a great team. They don't have a lot of great talent. You have a rookie quarterback. You're exactly right. But, boy, that second half is going to be gangbusters. With that defense getting after, you talk about J.J. Watt, Chandler Jones.
Yep.
They really do a great job of getting after the quarterback. And once you get after a rookie quarterback and force him into decisions he doesn't want to make, those are turnover problems. Those turn into pick sixes. And the way Kyler Murray has looked on that offense and all those wide receivers, especially
they look superb. Okay.
Are they the biggest surprise for you in the National Football League this year, being undefeated?
Now that you put it that way, probably yeah.
Okay.
I think the biggest surprise, believe it or not, is a team that didn't produce anything, and it was in the NFC least, which were the New York Giants. Okay, that was just my own personal opinion.
Well, that would be your biggest disappointment. Are the Arizona Cardinals the biggest surprise? And I say that because, look, they have the weapons, and on paper they look good, but you don't know if Kyler Murray can stay healthy. You don't know if AJ Green can, work in that system. Of course, with all those weapons, DeAndre Hopkins and Christian Kirk. Could they make it fit? But the surprising thing is not necessarily Kyler Murray and the weapons. The surprising thing is how good that defense is and what J.J. Watt and what kind of impact he's made on another side of the ball for Chandler Jones.
Good point, Pete. Very, 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 very good point. Very good point. I don't even know how to respond to that, bro. Honestly, I don't. That's a good point.
They're the toughest team. They're undefeated right now. I mean, they're 6-0 in one of the toughest divisions in football.
Look, I thought the Giants were going to be the surprise team. I really did. Yeah. Not because of it. Look, they got some decent talent. They had to do better than what they did last year. And the NFC East was so challenged, it wasn't even funny. I'm still not a believer in Dallas, okay? That defense, people are trying to talk it up and they're trying to hype it up. They got 2 players. They got a middle linebacker and they got a corner. Yeah. Still nobody to rush the quarterback. They stink on defense, period, the end. Nothing you're going to do, nor tell me, that's going to tell me that this Dallas team is Super Bowl ready. Their offense can be stopped, period. Ezekiel Elliott is not the same player he was before he got paid, okay? And that tells me a lot about someone's character.
Okay.
So is Arizona the surprise team? Hindsight's 2020. I'll have to tell you yes, because I didn't even have them winning their division this year. I thought the Rams, arguably, and I'm really sorry to say this, was the best team in the National Football League, period, because of the acquisition of Matthew Stafford. I don't know. They might even be the best team in their division, okay? I'm going to get back to the comments really quick. Roger Shoe says, fire an owner, you're nuts. I agree with Roger on there. Wow, look, Mike DeRoche from north of the border. Mike, how you doing? Thank you so much for tuning in to 1252 Sports. Hey, Harry, long time.
What's up, Harry?
Facebook user, and you know what? I know exactly who this is. This is Mr. Banner. Harold. He's the only one that calls me Harold. God bless it, man. I hate
That's
you
my middle
sometimes.
name, by the way.
I don't get it. Harold, what's the difference between betting at a stadium pari-mutuel and betting sitting in a stadium on your phone? Great question. I will have that conversation with you off air. I can't give out all my secrets. Look, man, there's only so much you can bet off a telephone.
Yeah.
Okay. That's one of them. But that is a good point. And the reason why I want to talk it off air, because damn it, you made me look silly here.
I want to go back to the Giants thing. I think it's silly and nuts to actually believe that Daniel Jones is going to change his stripes. He is a turnover machine. And on top of it, when Saquon could stay healthy, yes, they're a scary team, but he has not been able to stay healthy the last couple years. He's almost like Odell Beckham, who, by the way, made a couple catches on Thursday night. He probably got hurt getting out of bed this morning.
Tell me about it.
Honestly. And then going back to the Cowboys, the greatness of Diggs making plays, and then the greatness of Diggs looking like burnt toast. I mean, that's the problem with the Cowboys. They're so inconsistent, but so talented. And then the bad news for Cowboy fans, and it could be bad news, Dak Prescott hurting his calf. What's the seriousness of that situation? Good thing they have a bye week, but is that a lingering problem, Harry the Greek, for this team? Because we know if Dak is out of this game, okay, they're a different offense.
No, I agree with you totally on that. I really do. I agree totally with you on that. With that being said, I don't know.
I don't know how you can like the New York Giants. I don't know how you fall into that. I mean,
look, I don't like them now. I never really liked them. I like them from a handicapping perspective and a betting perspective. Okay. My record this year on picks that I've given out on both platforms, I am 23-7-1. Let me repeat it.
Hold on a sec. Hold on. Let me give it to you. I'll give it to you.
Cut it.
I got another one for you. Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Sing it.
Come on, baby, don't you wanna go?
That's you right there, man. I mean, you're the Windy City's finest, Harry the Greek, killing it with all his picks. And if you guys aren't tuning in, obviously you like being poor. I don't know.
But seriously, 23-7-1 is what my record is. It's not as good as what it was last year, but you know what? I still have that horseshoe, and I hate to curse, but I have that horseshoe in my ass, and I'm not giving it back anytime soon, okay? And I pick it by a lot of underdogs. I love home underdogs. I mean, people that know me know exactly how I wager. But I liked the New York Giants from a handicapping's perspective, and out of those 7 losses, Peter, 3 of them had to do with the Giants. 3. You won't see me betting on this team anytime soon.
I wouldn't bet on them at all. I wouldn't bet on them if they're healthy. I mean, the only thing that gives me,
look who it is.
Yes, look at this.
Rodgers shoe. Great show, Harry. Going to bed. Got to work tomorrow. See you on Sunday. Bear down. Oh, Roger.
Oh, look at that. You know what? This is what I got to say about Roger right here.
Oh, my God. Who the hell cares?
I mean, honestly, who cares about you? Be quiet.
Roger, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. Nighty-night, termite. Go to sleep. Let's get back to the task at hand, brother.
That's what old people do there, Roger. That's what happens right there.
Oh, God. Now let's get into some money games. Washington football team at the Green Bay Packers. This is what I have. The way Green Bay's schedule is constructed, this shapes up to be a potential trap game for the Packers. Green Bay's coming off consecutive road wins at Cincinnati and Chicago, which we do not want to talk about. The Packers will visit unbeaten Arizona Cardinals just 4 nights after the Washington game. They followed it up by traveling to Kansas City. That's a couple tough games, guys. With 2 demanding road tests on the horizon, Green Bay could be tempted to look past Sunday's game. Since throwing 2 interceptions and no touchdowns in the Packers' season-opening loss, that was against the Saints, Rodgers has returned to his usual form. The 3-time MVP has 12 TD passes and only 1 interception during the Packers' win streak. On the other hand, Washington just released kicker Dustin Hopkins and signed Chris Blewett to he's a 26-year-old who's making his first NFL regular season debut on Sunday. Now, the Bear fans should know who Chris Blewett is because he was on the roster here just a couple of years ago.
He blew
the guy can actually kick a little bit. I don't know what he's going to kick like in a game, but we're going to find out. Green Bay 7.5-point favorites, a total 47.5. I really like this game. And to your surprise, I like the road underdog here. I don't like them on the money line. I don't think that Washington's going to lose. However, you can make a small position here and bet Washington to actually win this game on the money line. Very small, but I really like Washington getting 7.5 points. I'd wait the closer to game time as you can get because I'm telling you now, you might even get this to 8.5. Everybody watched that game against Green Bay and Chicago. Chicago looked very good against this team for about a half, and going into the third quarter, I don't remember exactly what quarter it was with the offsides. Justin Fields thought he had a free play through the interception in the end zone. This is not really going to be the same. For Washington, the beer kid, Mr. Tyler Heineke himself, grew up idolizing Green Bay, grew up idolizing Brett Favre. Now he's playing against Aaron Rodgers. Washington's defense is not what it was last year. But let me tell you something. Neither is Green Bay's. And Washington has a much better promise of getting better on defense. Peter, who do you like and why?
Green Bay, and it's close. It's not a blowout. It's not by 6 or 7 points. I think it's a close game. Even though the Washington football team has taken a step back defensively, I just feel like they're playing better. You have Antonio Gibson. You have Terry McLaurin. They do have some weapons on this team. I still think this defense may show up. But I'll tell you right now, for Aaron Rodgers owning Chicago, it's not like he lights out versus that Bears defense. So, yeah, I'm not really sold necessarily on this Packer offense. I still think there's a distraction there with an Aaron Rodgers in that locker room. It just doesn't look to me. They're winning close games. I get it. It's a close game, but Packers winning over the Washington football team. But
they win it, but they don't cover the 7.5. I really like Washington getting 7.5 points. I'm going to love them when they get to 8.5. Put your smart money on this team. I really like it. Do not like the over/under on it.
All right. Do you want to hear what Tom Brady had to say when talking about Aaron? First and foremost, let me ask you a question, Harry the Greek.
Yes,
what
sir.
were your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers and his display of disrespect, if you will, with the discount double check and then saying to the fans, I own you, I own you? What were your thoughts on that?
I am going to give you a concise answer when we get to that game, and there's a reason for it, and I know you got a little treat for us. Can we wait just a little bit?
We'll wait a little bit, yes.
Perfect. Next game, Atlanta Falcons at the Miami Dolphins. Atlanta is a 2.5-point favorite on the road in Miami. The Dolphins are trying to avoid the starting 0-3 at home for what would be the second time in the last 10 years. Miami lost its first 4 home games back in 2019. Look, man, you know the 88% rule. When you have a road team that is exactly a 2.5-point favorite, you always go the other way. 88% of the times, the home team actually wins the game. Not cover, they win. Play Miami on the money line just because of statistics and odds. I do like Miami getting the 2.5, but I like them even more on the money line. Tua is healthy. He looked good throwing the ball. Their defense is going to be okay. The running game is going to be coming back. And why is Atlanta favored over anybody? Oh, wait a minute, because everybody's fooled again because Matt Ryan in the last 3 games has 8 or 9 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. But hold on. Footnote, everybody. They have no defense. This might be the only defense that's worse than Dallas's. Okay?
Yes.
Okay. Play Miami at home. Third favorite game of the week. Peter, who do you like and why?
I like Miami in this game, even though Tua threw a pitiful interception. They lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars to a field goal in London. I think Miami comes back. They're at home. And then all the rumors this week about Miami making a trade for Deshaun Watson. Tua has to prove himself. And I like that defense to counterpunch, if you will, that Atlanta Falcon offense. I like the Miami Dolphins.
Good deal. I have another comment coming through here. Mr. Mike DeRoche, Buccaneers, 35, Care Bears 10. Oh, God, that's a good one. I do like that one. Thanks for tuning in, Mike. That was a pretty good one. The next game, Indianapolis Colts at San Francisco. Frisco's -4 and the total's 42.5. Here's a little footnote for you. Colts quarterback Carson Wentz will also get to see 49ers quarterback Trey Lance and another North Dakota State grad. The two developed a friendship before Lance was taken in the first round this year. Lance is not expected to play because of a knee injury. However, Jimmy Garoppolo should step into the starting quarterback for the Niners after missing one game before the bye with an injured right calf. Indy is +7 turnover differential, is tied for third in the National Football League. I love Indianapolis, guys. I love their defense. I really like what Carson Wentz was doing. But little footnote, it's not San Francisco's defense. They're going to run the brakes off this team. I'm telling you, they will run and keep running and running, and they're going to set up the play action pass. DeForest Buckner, they're going to go ahead and double team him. They're going to have success on the ground for San Francisco. Garoppolo throws for 3 touchdowns in here. I like San Francisco laying the 4 points. And you ready for this? I like the over 42.5 in this game. It's not one of my best games, but I like San Fran -4 and over 42.5. Who do you like?
I kind of like the over on this too, and I'll tell you why. Because Carson Wentz gets T.Y. Hilton back last week. He's very productive. He may be the missing piece of that offense. You got Jonathan Taylor, who's very productive. Can Carson Wentz stay healthy? And once again, that is not against that San Francisco defense, but I like San Francisco in this game. Jimmy Garoppolo, the running the ball. I'm not sure if the Colts can stop that running game. I like the 49ers at home, and I agree with you. I think it could be an up and down game where it's high scoring instead of what a lot of people expect, a defensive battle.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, we got another comment in here. Pig Dog Video 2001. Harry, is Dearness Johnson a future 1,000-yard rusher, or is he the next Timmy Smith? You know what? If he gets his opportunity, I think he can be. Peter?
I mean, he's shown flashes of brilliance before. I mean, he was down here as an Orlando Apollo, I believe, in the old AAF league. I believe he went to Oregon, so he's been productive, but you're exactly right. It comes down to, is he going to get those opportunities? And you would say not, because you've got Kareem Hunt. And, of course, you've got the other running back, Nick Chubb. So if those two are healthy, which it would seem like they're going to be in the next couple of weeks, I don't see Johnson eclipsing 1,000 yards. I don't.
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. Next game, you ready?
Yeah.
These games get better. Cincinnati Bengals at the Baltimore Ravens.
Ooh.
Baltimore is -6.5. The total is 45.5. It's a divisional game. The Bengals have waited a while for a game like this. After 5 straight losing seasons, the Bengals have a chance to move into the tie for the top of the AFC North if they can win a division-leading Baltimore on Sunday. That's not an easy feat. The Ravens have won 5 in a row in this series. In the past, 3 haven't even been close, Peter. Baltimore beat Cincinnati 49-13 in their second meeting in 2019, then swept the Bengals last season without even allowing a touchdown. Think about that. The Ravens won 27-3 and 38-3, and in the most recent matchups between the teams, Baltimore rushed for a franchise record. You ready? 404 yards. Granted, that was against a lifeless offense from Cincinnati because Burrow went down and they didn't have Jamar Chase, but the defense hasn't changed either. A loss, however, would give the Ravens some surprising company in first place. Injuries have been a constant backdrop for the Ravens ever since they lost running backs J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards before the season even began. This week, they put an offensive lineman, Ronnie Stanley, ankle on injured reserve. He hasn't even played since the opener. Receiver Sammy Watkins' thigh missed last week's game, and running back Latavius Murray hurt his ankle. However, Murray is supposed to be able to play. Here's my thought on this game, Peter. I am not going to Texas in this game. I'm going to have a very, very large position. I've always said you never lay more than 5 points against a division opponent. Ever. Ever, 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 ever. Did I say ever enough?
Ever.
Okay. Baltimore has made me a believer. This young man, Lamar Jackson, is learning. I'm going to say it right up front. He has learned how to throw the ball very well with precision as well as using his legs. He has now become an official dual threat quarterback when just a week or two ago he threw for 400 yards. Woke me right up, bro. woke me up. Cincinnati, I love Joe Burrow coming out of LSU, and I'm glad he got his counterpart with his wide receiver. But they've done nothing to address that offensive line. It's going to be a long day for Burrow. Defensively, they can't keep up with Lamar Jackson. I don't know how Cincinnati scores in this game. And by the way, statistically, Peter, I don't know if you knew this, but Joe Burrow has more completions over 30 yards than anybody in the National Football League. That ain't happening in this game. Lay the wood. You lay Baltimore minus the 6.5. I don't like the over-under in this game, but this is one of my top picks of the week. It's one of my top picks of the year. Okay? Baltimore. Absolutely. Just say it with me. It's cathartic. Baltimore. That's all you got to do is say Baltimore. Peter, what do you think? Does Baltimore win big here, or do you like Cincinnati?
Quote the Raven, nevermore. If you weren't woken up by that performance last week versus the supposed high-powered offense of Justin Herbert and the LA Chargers, then when are you going to wake up? This Ravens team is for real, defensively and offensively, and I get it. Look, the Cincinnati Bengals have definitely grown leaps and bounds. Joe Burrow and his development, Jamar Chase, but like you said, they should have focused on that offensive line. I think this is going to come back to haunt them, if you will. Baltimore wins this game, and they win it by at least 10 points or more.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, even Mike DeRoche got on top of it. Say it with me. Baltimore. Hang on. I'll do it for you, Mike. Just for you, buddy. Ready? Baltimore.
Mike, I got to say one thing because we going back and forth. How about those Tampa Bay Lightning, 2-time Stanley Cup champs? All right, I'm done.
Hold on. I understand about you and your Tampa Bay with your Tampa Bay Lightning, but Mike and I have something in common. You want to know what it is?
What's that?
The Chicago Blackhawks. Say it with me, Peter. It's cathartic. I know they're not that good this year, but Chicago Blackhawks. I know that's Mike. Let me tell you something. Mike DeRoche loves him. Mike DeRoche chimes in with Josh Rosen. Oh, my God.
Here we go. Ready?
How about no?
Oh, we got a caller coming in.
Oh.
Welcome to the Over Under. You're live on the air with Harry the Greek and my co-host this evening, Mr. Peter Blake. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, this is Mr. Blake Anthony.
Oh.
Calling in for Mr. Peter Blake and Harry the Bird.
Look at that.
Oh, God. The show just got smarter.
Blake Sports right there. Sports Talk 49 of NSPN.
Is everybody from Tampa going to troll me this week? What's happening, Mr. Blake?
Oh, nothing much, guys. I figured a duo got to make it a trio.
Yeah. You know what?
I like that. Yeah.
I do like that. What you got today, Blake?
Oh, man, I'm just calling in to check in with you guys and see what kind of trouble I can get into.
I don't know, man. I don't know if you can get in too much trouble with us, man. We're just kind of like hanging out, doing a show, just eating bonbons, telling stories, things like that. But since I got you on the phone, who do you like between Cincinnati and the Baltimore Ravens? Ravens are minus 6.5. That means they're favored by 6.5.
Okay, Ravens should come away with this game, even though Cincinnati has beat up on their defensive line with the addition of Trey Hendrickson and a bunch of other players. But Baltimore should be the favorite in this game. The running game starting to get together. Lamar Jackson's always going to be elusive on the ground. He's just got to be consistently accurate at key points in the game. But I don't foresee, I foresee Jamar Chase, getting his yards, but not going buck wild on that Baltimore defense.
I don't know how they score for Cincinnati in this game. This is one of my top picks of the week, not only the week, of the year so far. And I don't like to give up more than 5 points, especially in a division game. Mm-hmm. But I just can't see how Cincinnati even keeps up with this team.
Guys, the success for Burrow this year has been when he spread out, and he did that against Jacksonville's defense. I get it. Defense of Jacksonville isn't nowhere near as good as Baltimore.
There's a defense in Jacksonville?
I mean, right, exactly. But Burrow's success has been when they spread it out. Do you take the chance and spread the Baltimore Ravens out? Do you do that, or is that a bad thing to do?
Oh, let me answer that question. I'm going to let Blake go ahead and answer it. If Joe Burrow doesn't want to end up with his other knee in a sling, he better not be stretching that freaking team around, because I'm telling you now, it will happen once, maybe twice. And then Mr. Harbaugh will probably send 8 after him. and give them a hit. Trust me, you do not want to do this. That offensive line is one of the worst in all of football. It's almost as bad as Chicago's offensive line right now. I kid you not. Except the difference is they can't run block like they do in Chicago. At least Chicago can run block. Blake?
I agree. Oh, yeah. How did Joe Burrow go out injured last year? Oh, it was poor protection from his left tackle. So you decide to spread him out against Baltimore's tenacious pass rush. Good luck, Joe Burrow. You ain't outrunning everybody. This isn't LSU. This is the NFL now. And the Baltimore Ravens will get after you.
Yep. Well, here comes the last game that I'm going to tout. You going to be able to stay on the phone for this one, Mr. Blake?
Yeah, go ahead. I got 5 more minutes with you.
Good. Chicago Bears at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa right now at most books are minus 12.5. The total is 47 points. Coach Bruce Arians likes what he sees from rookie Justin Fields, noting the young quarterback not only has a strong arm, but also the ability to give opposing defenses fits when he decides to tuck the ball and run. Chicago might rank last in the National Football League in total offense and be the only team in the league that averages more yards per game rushing than passing. That's something that Tampa only wishes they could do. But anyway, Arians says that there are talented players around Fields who gives the Bears, who are 3-3, the potential to be more productive. It won't be easy for Chicago, who leads the NFL with 21 sacks, to replicate their success. Tampa Bay leads the league in passing, however, is 28th in rushing. The defending champs don't have a 100-yard rusher this season. However, Fournette has provided balance by assuming greater workload and also getting involved in passing attack. The past 3 games, his 376 yards from scrimmage over that stretch are the third most in the National Football League, only behind Derrick Henry and Jonathan Taylor. The Bears rank dead last in the NFL in total offense, even though they are 7th in rushing. Clearly, they have to do a lot more in the passing game. Who do you like here in this game? Not so much from a winner, but from a handicapping standpoint. Tampa's favored by 12. This line's going to go to 13.5, and in some cases, it's going to be as high as 14. I am going to start with you, Blake, on the phone. Do you think Tampa beats them by this much, or do you think Chicago could cover the spread?
Well, I'm going to steal your line here. It depends on who's calling this ball game. If you're just going to try to run the ball against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and not really put the ball in the air and try to, simplify your way or try to do an air raid show with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it's not going to happen. Especially if you can't get to Tom Brady, they're going to put up another 25 points or 30 points a game if that happens. The Bears have to find some way to get turnovers. But if you're asking me, 12 is a lot of points. I would have to say take the Bears in the points.
Wow. Blake, I appreciate you calling in. You know what? I can't wait to do this some other time. Love to have you live on the show. We'll talk to you soon, brother. And thank you so much for calling in.
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah, Blake.
Cheers, brother. Peter?
Yes.
You heard it. I'm not going to keep going through, and I'm not going to keep beating a dead rabbit. This is where you and I are going to go ahead and talk. Who do you like and why?
I like the Bucks, of course, but I think it's a closer game than a lot of people anticipate. And I'll tell you why, because the Bears do have a talented defense that kind of scares you just a little bit. And to that point, do the Bucks really have to win this game by 12 or 15 points? No. I think they're going to win it the way they won a lot of their games in the second half of the year. They're going to have balance. They're going to run the ball with Leonard Fournette. They're going to set up that pass play action. I like Brady and the Bucks to win. I would say maybe by 10 points. I still think the Bears make this a lot closer because of that defense. And even if Robert Quinn plays or not, and if he does play, then it's totally different. But if he doesn't, you still have Khalil Mack to worry about. You still have Akeem Hicks. You still have Roquan Smith. I think the Bears will keep it close. But what you kind of worry about here is Justin Fields being a rookie versus a Todd Bowles scheme. Even though the Bucs have all those injuries in that back end and Levante David is missing, you still think they're going to put pressure on him and maybe try to call some turnovers like what happened last week versus the Packers. With that being said, it's a close game between the Bucs and the Bears, as it always is.
Perfect. Hey, you know what else I'd like you to do? Why don't you go ahead and play that clip? Because I'd like the people up in the Midwest to actually take a look at this. I'm sure they've already seen it, but for people that haven't, enjoy this.
Yeah, I mean, this was Tom Brady and his comments about Aaron Rodgers owning the Packers here live on the Over-Under.
You know, I was studying a little bit on the Bears and the Packers and watched a lot of that. That was another great game. And I actually, before we get started, I wanted to say congrats to Aaron. Rodgers, obviously, now he's a great quarterback, but I guess he's now a shareholder of the Bears. He was, I saw a clip of him really enthusiastically telling the crowd how happy he is to own Soldier Field. And that's really great stuff. He owns the Bucs now, part owner of Soldier Field. So he's got a great career beyond football.
What do you own, Tom? How about upstate New York? You're 32-3. Have you staked a claim on Buffalo yet?
Not yet. Nope. I want to settle for a few things less than that. I'm cool with owning just a few lucky autographs. That's what I'm the owner of.
How about possibly New York City? You're 30-8 against the Jets.
Oh no, I'll just take the color green. I don't need the Jets. I'll just own the color green. I think that's a little bit better.
It's all right.
Wow. That's good.
And that's the difference, ladies and gentlemen. That's the difference between Tom Brady as a quarterback and Aaron Rodgers. Brady will take less money. He'll roll it down the road so this team can, re-sign their players so they can compete for a Super Bowl. And here's Aaron Rodgers with his selfish statement, with his selfish actions during the offseason. And that's the difference. That's the reason why Tom Brady has 7 championships and Aaron Rodgers only has 1. And more than likely will never get another championship again because you know why? He is selfish, self-centered, and on top of it, he is one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league. That formula doesn't work in the National Football League. You know what that means? Not for long.
It's exactly what it means. Now I'm going to give you my take on this game, Peter. And I'm going to give you the keys on why I think the Bears could actually upset this team in Tampa. They did it last year. Both teams last year did have some injuries, but that was last year. Different play calling, different quarterback. I mean, really different quarterback. I understand they're dead last in the National Football League on offense, but you do see flashes of brilliance coming out of this young man in Chicago. His legs, his arm. I don't like the way he delivers the football. Sometimes it's a little bit too long. It doesn't get on the receivers long enough. But let me give you the reasons why. Minter, who I like a lot as a linebacker, is going to be playing for Levante David. He's the one who's going to have to spy on Justin Fields. Minter couldn't catch you or me on a wheel route. Okay? Can't. Could not happen. Won't happen. Very good pass defender, but not a really good run stopper. Chicago's not going to let Justin Fields get themselves into too much trouble. They're not going to allow him to try to get into a shootout with a Tom Brady. Trust me. However, it's going to be very tempting because Tampa's going to play their base defense like they always do, 10 to 15 yards off the line of scrimmage, and implore you to run the football, which Chicago will have success doing this because they have no further choice. When it decides to sneak that 8th person up into the box, that's when Chicago is going to take a shot with Darnell Mooney. Allen Robinson has not, let me repeat, has not been a factor this year yet. He does get going this year. On the defensive side of the football, the Chicago Bears got their Vita Vea back with Eddie Goldman. In every game that he's played, he's gotten a little bit better. That makes everybody in that defense so much better, especially with arguably one of the better linebackers in the National Football League. Undeniably, that's Mr. Roquan Smith. I haven't even talked about Khalil Mack. I'm talking about Roquan Smith. He will nullify Tampa's running game, whatever they want to throw at them that way. 12 points, Peter, is a ton of points. I will have a very small position this week on the Bears on the money line. Very, very small position because the returns are just so astronomical. They're not supposed to win. But let me give you some statistics. Out of the last 10 times that the Buccaneers have been favored by this many points, they've covered, are you ready? Once.
And
one time.
And Tom Brady doesn't cover this year. He has not covered this year. It's been
not like that.
To figure out this Bucs offense. And then to compound matters, you're going to miss a Gronkowski, who's a big part of this offense. And on top of it, Antonio Brown, who may be single-handedly their best wide receiver. In fact, he's a go-to guy for Tom.
This is a trap game, Peter.
This could be a trap game, but
this is the game that all the Tampa fans were talking about. Oh my God, it could be a trap game. You think it's going to be Atlanta? Do you think it'll be Carolina? No.
No.
They're talking about the 31st and 32nd ranked offense from the Chicago Bears coming down here, and they're going to put up, you ready, Peter? You ready?
Mhm.
They're going to run for over 100 yards, and he's going to have over 200 yards passing. If he limits his mistakes, this game's going to be a lot closer than what you think. If you really want to play this game, you take Chicago in the first half. I know this Tampa team like the back of my hand. They are one of the best teams in the entire National Football League, but they do not play well against lesser opponents. And I'm not trying to downgrade Chicago. They did it against the Giants last year. They were losing against the Giants. They were 12.5-point favorites. You and I were watching the game together from the Deck Bar and Grill, if you remember.
Yep.
And I was calling out particular plays. Chicago's defense comes up with 2 turnovers in this game. If both of them are in the first half, Chicago's definitely covering because they're going to give this young offense a very short field. Believe me, they're not immortal. You have the GOAT there in Tampa, but they're not immortal, and they are pretty banged up, and they are definitely not playing. They may be 5-1, Peter, but this is not the same 5-1 team. I don't have that giddy feeling in my stomach like I did last year when they were 7-5, and I knew they were going to the playoffs. Nobody in Tampa even thought they were going to make the playoffs, let alone win the Super Bowl. Okay? Very few people. Very few people. But I seen something in this team. This team is not playing up to that ability like they did last year. And this defense is a shell of himself of what it was last year, and due to the fact of all the injuries.
Correct.
What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. I think they are a shell of themselves, but when you're missing, a Carlton Davis, a Sean Murphy Bunting, a Levante David, now a Richard Sherman, it's tough. It's tough to call those blitzes by Todd Bowles, but somehow, some way, and, to counteract you a little bit, you think Kevin Mentor is going to be the quarterback spy, or do you think Mr. 45, Devin White's going to be the quarterback spy? I would go with Devin White, and I'll tell you right now, I think this defense will be more prepared simply because of what happened on Thursday night with Jalen Hurts and Miles Sanders. They did run for over 100 yards. They're not going to do that versus this Bucs defense, and this defense will be ready to go to contain Justin Fields. If Fields is going to beat this Bucs team, you force him to beat you from the pocket, not with his legs.
Without question. But I think he's going to be running very well. And I think that's going to be the game plan. You're going to see a lot of RPOs. Tampa is very good against the RPO. They struggle against really mobile quarterbacks, but they do struggle against that RPO just a smidge, especially when you do not have Levante David in there. That is the biggest loss for this team, in my opinion. It's not the secondary. Peter, it's not.
No.
Levante David, that is your general on your defense. He is in charge of everything, sitting back there going, hey guys, this is where we're going to be. He's the field general on your defense, period, the end. We're going to get to some of the comments really quick. Mike says Ravens over Bengals by 10 with a question mark. Absolutely. Just win the game. Mike DeRoche, TB12, he's the best. I'd have to agree with you on that. Mike says last year Bucks beat the Bucs by penalties. You know what? That's a great point.
Yep.
But what people don't realize, Chicago was being penalized as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what cost them that game was Vaughn, the running back, when he took that little ball, when he took the pass out of the backfield.
Yep.
And he just got blew up. That's why they got beat, Mike. It wasn't because of the penalty. Chicago wanted it more in that game, unfortunately.
Well,
but you know what?
Turning over the ball before halftime, you give the offense that momentum, and then the offense gets a will route, and then instead of being down 13-0, it's 13-7. And Mike is sort of right, because at the critical time late in that fourth quarter, Shaq Barrett picks up a 15-yard penalty, which once again changes the complexion of the game and gives new life to a Nick Foles in that offense. You have them down, but that penalty is called. And to me, I don't know how they're calling roughing the passer these days, but you can't really touch a quarterback. And once again, that gave the Bears new life, and they were able to go and.
No, I do remember that.
Yeah.
But I also remember this.
Yeah. Yeah. That.
Are you sure? Is it four? I don't know.
5 downs,
Last year, the Bucs beat them. How close are 5, 23, 54, 81, and 87 from getting back into the lineup? Half of them should be getting back pretty close. But I'm going to tell you right now, I do not see Rob Gronkowski getting hurried back into the lineup. that he's got more broken ribs than what's his name had for New Orleans last year.
Drew Brees.
Drew Brees.
And you would have thought, Harry, that, with the 10 days off, that Gronkowski would be ready to go, and he's not. So that's kind of a worry. And then, appearing on the injury report out of nowhere because he did bang up his ankle, but he didn't think it was that serious, Antonio Brown, who has been, in some cases, once again, the best wide receiver on this team. I mean, he could take the top off of a defense.
I predicted that Antonio Brown was going to lead this team in yards. He was going to be the best. He's going to be the best receiver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But again, I'm not on a Tampa platform.
Well, here's the thing, Harry. Here's what you worry about with the Bears and the Bucks game, right? Because the Bucks are so undisciplined with penalties, and this could favor the Chicago Bears if they're taking deep shots down the field with the Mooney and, of course, an Allen Robinson. You have so much inexperience besides maybe a Jamel Dean, and even then, he's inconsistent. So
Jamel Dean has been toast this year. Has not been the same player that I watched from last year. That secondary's in trouble. Peter and Mike and everybody else who's watching out there. If Chicago is able to run this football with authority like they have these last 3 games, with not their first or second or third string running back, with their 4th string running back, if they continue to have that kind of success on the ground, this could be a very, very, very close game.
I will bet you a steak dinner that the Bears do not get 100 yards of rushing in this game.
Bro, you're going to lose again? It's like when you already owe me a ribeye. You haven't paid the first ribeye. Mister, who was it? Who was the bet? Wait, hold on. What was the bet?
The bet was that Frisco should have taken Mac Jones, which they should have, because, by the way, Trey Lance has been a little bit disappointing at this point.
But how many steak dinners are out there owed to me? God bless his soul. Pat, I miss you, brother. His birthday, by the way, was a couple days ago. And Pat would have been 41 years old, for those of you that don't know who it is.
Damn.
Pat was a very close friend of mine, Peter's, and a few other people. Loves all kinds of sports, extremely good, knowledgeable back from the 90s, especially with 90s basketball.
Good man.
And, very unexpectedly, he had passed away. But we had to bring that up. But Pat owed me a steak. Peter owes me a steak. I mean, half of the Tampa Bay area owed me a steak.
I feel like maybe we'll even it up. But I'm telling you, there's no way that the Bears run for 100 yards versus this vaunted Bucs defense. There's no way it's going to happen.
They run for $150 total.
No way.
I'm telling you, Peter.
I will take your bets. I will bet the under on that, Mr. Harry the Greek.
Okay, but we just have 100 yards, right? Justin Fields alone is going to run for over 50 yards in this game.
You think so?
Oh, absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. Anyway, Mike DeRoche. Depth wins games. Go Bucks.
True.
What depth do you have in the secondary? And last time I found out, Mike, if you open up your mailbox, you'll find the invitation to please come down and suit up to play DB, because they're out of people. Right now, they're using the janitor and the Johns coming out to try to play DB for this team. Tyler Johnson is a sleeper game. I'm not too sure. I don't think Tyler's going to get too much action in this game for Tampa Bay. I really don't. I think they're going to concentrate on, believe it or not, they're going to concentrate using the tight ends in this game, because I'm going to tell you right now, they are going to get after Brady in this game, especially with that front seven for Chicago. They know exactly what they have to do. Jalen Johnson, now that Antonio Brown is not in the game, he's going to man up against Mike Evans. Godwin's is going to go against the second and the third stringer. They're going to have some success over there. Mike Evans is not going to have the type of game that you really think he's going to have. Jalen Johnson's one of the top-rated corners in the entire National Football League. What a pick he was coming out of college last year and falling out of the first round and right into Chicago's lap. But with that being said, they're going to utilize that tight ends. They are going to utilize Mr. Often Injured. I do not want to say his name because I feel very bad for his career. But I expect him to have a pretty big game for Tampa Bay. Peter?
I mean, yeah, you got to like O.J. Howard. I mean,
you can't say his name. Now he's going to get hurt, damn it.
Well, knock on wood. I mean, he was a man on the milk carton, and he definitely showed out. And a lot of people say, well, are you going to trade this guy now? No, you're not going to trade this guy now, because Gronkowski can get hurt. Cameron Brate can get hurt. And if Howard is playing well, that offense is that much better. And I agree with Mike. Tyler Johnson could be the guy that has a sleeper game simply because of his experience last year versus that Bears defense. He showed out, made some big catches. Remember, Mike Evans was hurt in the game, eerily similar with this Bucs offense when Antonio Brown is out of this game. So Tyler Johnson has shown in his career, in the limited snaps he's had, he can make some big catches. Mike might be onto something.
That's a great point. Mike DeRoche says, I'll bet you a brisket. That's an inside joke.
Yes, it is.
And for people that don't know what this means, Mike lives in Canada. Okay. Lives a very sheltered life. Great guy, great personality. Love having him on the shows. Just a super, super nice guy. The man has never had brisket before until last year for the first time. I want you to think about that. The poor guy has never eaten brisket. It's like a slice of heaven. I don't know what else to say.
I've had brisket once, so I'm ready to bet you brisket, my friend, on the Bears being held under 100 yards. You ready?
Not happening. You're on, Peter.
All right, there you go. We'll shake right there. What
happened? What happened every time you've made a bet with me? You've lost. Now you know what? Go to your proposition bets, and you'll notice that the Bears, you just have to bet over on whoever's running the football. Peter said it. They're cursed. Mike DeRoche says, Peter Kucherov done for the year. Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, there was an injury with his groin. I don't think he's done for the year. It's done for a majority of the year. And maybe the Lightning are pulling something again here. Maybe they will let him be on the injury list. I don't really think so, but who knows? Maybe they go and they use that exemption to go get a superstar player. Of course, we're talking about the Tampa Bay Lightning. But look, that team last year, they were able to overcompensate, if you will, for Kucherov. They were able to put it together and win another Stanley Cup when Kucherov came back. Look, they could do the same thing. They still have Braden Point and they still have Stammer and Steven Stamkos. So, and they got the best goalie in the entire world. And
you're just so partial. Will you
Andre
stop it?
Vasilevskiy. I mean, come on. He should have won the Vezina last year. There should be an investigation. Just saying.
Oh, God. I got to hear this.
Says to the Chicago Blackhawk fan, put it on the board. Yes.
Oh, you know what? That's not even nice.
What happened to your team and what happened to my team in the playoffs?
I have no idea. I will tell you this much. I didn't look. I was happy for what the White Sox did this year. I just knew they were going to go one and done in the playoffs, not because I'm just being that pessimist. I'm just telling you the truth. There was something about this team I didn't like. It started with their catcher. I do not like the way he caught and called games. I just didn't. Pitching was fine. They're star players between Eloy Jimenez, Luis Robert, the up and down with Adam Eaton, Nick Mandragold, their young rookie. I'm sorry, their young second baseman was supposed to be a superstar, went down and got injured, and they ended up getting traded to the Cubs for some stiff named Kimbrel. But anyway, this team literally didn't play together for literally over 2/3 of the year. It's very hard to be cohesive. This team was a year away. They were just a year ahead of time. This team will be fine. But let me tell you something. Those Tampa Bay Rays, if they would have had just two starting pitchers, it'd have been all over with. We wouldn't be watching Houston and Boston right now because Tampa would be sitting there. That's just the truth.
I continue to howl at the top of a mountain or howl.
Carlos Correa just got drilled with 100-mile-an-hour fastball on the elbow. How'd that feel, Correa?
I mean, Harry, honestly, if you sign Blake Snell and you get a Charlie Morton instead of spending that worthless $12 million on a Michael Wacha, on a Chris Archer, on a Rich Hill, who they traded at the deadline, which I don't understand why, but instead of spending that $12 million, spend $15 million on a Charlie Morton, who, by the way, I don't know, one of your big game pitchers of all time in Rays history, especially when it comes down to a deciding game. And, oh, by the way, he's also leading the Braves to the World Series. Just saying, have Charlie Morton, have Blake Snell, and then you don't have to start 3 rookies in your rotation. It's money, baby. It's all about money. When you spend 60 or 70 million instead of the 100 million like the normal teams do when they win the World Series, and it's been shown stats, you can let your emotion get in the way, but it's all about the stats at the end of the day. If you spend over 100 million more times than not, you have an opportunity to win a World Series. Until the Rays do that, they will not win a World Series.
No, but they are the best hidden kept secret in all of baseball. And it still is a secret because they don't put people in the stands. They put in less people, believe it or not, than what they do in the South Side in Chicago for the Chicago White Sox. But we're not going to talk about that.
I wouldn't either. I wouldn't either if the ownership comes out before the playoffs start and say, hey, you know what? We're going to promote this sister city plan where we put the team in Montreal. And guess what? You've got to put up with it. And then there's, customer outcry, fan outcry. And everybody's like, what the hell are you doing? You're ruining the juju of this team, the like you would say, Harry, the momentum.
Yep.
And then they go, you know what? We're not going to do it. I mean, right there, that was the curse. I mean, you cursed the baseball gods. The team is a team. They won the AL East, one of the toughest divisions in baseball. And now they're out sitting at home because they're cheap and their ownership sucks.
Unfortunately. Peter.
Yes.
I think it's going to be time to go. We covered everything.
We did.
Yes, we did. I'm going to give you a chance to go ahead and promote yourself. Thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure to get on with the best professional handicapper I know out there, Harry the Greek. Of course, catch me on the evolution of Sports Talk Television live on NSPN. I love St. Pete. Sometimes Monday, sometimes Tuesday. You just never know. But I'll be here live on Friday nights with Mr. Harry the Greek on the over-under. And, of course, catch the pre-half and post-game edition Sunday on NSPN live from Ducky Sports Lounge in Tampa. Do 3 things to me on this Friday night. You ready? Get set, go. Bring your passion. Bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about.
Wow. Always bringing that passion, Peter. Thank you so much, man. Hang out in the back room. I'll come back to you in just a little bit. Okay, brother?
Sounds good, man.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Peter Blake from the Sports Web. You should follow him on Facebook. Great shows, great content. Definitely knows not just about his hometown team down in Tampa Bay, but let me tell you something. The man knows a lot about a lot of different things in sports, especially baseball, basketball, football. Doesn't make a difference. Loves it all. Absolutely loves it all. So let's just go ahead and do a real quick recap. Washington football team, take the points, +7.5 at Green Bay. Do like it. But you know what? If you wait a little while, you're going to get 8.5 points. Trust me, because a lot of that money is going to end up going on them. Atlanta's at Miami. There's an 88% rule. Whenever you find a home favorite, exactly 2.5 at game time. This is very important. If the line is 2.5 at game time, always bet the home team. In this case, I like Miami better anyway because Atlanta has no business whatsoever being a favorite. They haven't warranted anything like that. The Indianapolis Colts at the San Francisco 49ers. Trey Lance will be playing. It has already been decided that Jimmy Garoppolo will be. DeForest Buckner, great defensive lineman, one of the better defensive linemen in all the National Football League. It's a little grudge game going against San Francisco, but San Francisco doesn't have one DeForest Buckner. They have 4 of them on that line. They're just so much better. They win this game, and I think they win it big. The total's 42.5. I do like Frisco -4, but if you wait a little while, it may go to 3.5. Cincinnati Bengals at the Baltimore Ravens. My favorite game of the week, one of my favorite games of the year to date. Not going to give you all the reasons for it. Bottom line is, don't be afraid. Just don't be scared. Push it in like you do in poker, baby. Both hands and both feet. Just say all in. Baltimore -6.5. Have fun with that game. The Chicago Bears at the Tampa Bay Bucks. Right now the line is 12 and 12.5. I'm telling you, by game time, this line will be 13.5 and sometimes even 14 points. This game's going to be a lot closer than what people think. Bet Chicago. Take the points. Take the points in this game. Small position. Bet a bigger position for the first half. This is where Tampa struggles, ladies and gentlemen. I know this team backwards and forwards. This Tampa team struggles in the first half against lesser opponents. This is where you can make yourself some money. Those are my picks for the week. I am 23-7 on the year so far with one push. Oh, I got one more comment. Let me see what this gentleman says. Mike DeRoche says, good night, fellas. Mike, thank you so much for commenting on the show. Kind of loved having, I want to thank Peter Blake for coming on the show this evening. It's very exciting, very passionate, and he can definitely, he's that guy that definitely gets into your face. But anyway, don't forget to catch all the great shows here on 1252 Sports. I believe the next show is going to be, Lord, I don't even know. That's really pitiful of me. I'm so sorry about that. But don't forget to catch the pregame show with Alan and Bears fans with a brain. I'm Harry the Greek. Thank you so much for tuning into the Over Under. And as I always say, keep your bets low and your returns high. We'll see you next Friday at 8 p.m. your time in Central Time, 9 p.m. in my time. Take care. Bet responsibly.